War isn't just chaos, it's a mirror, and what's being reflected in it right now is a pattern of power as old as conflict itself. What you're looking at isn't just a series of events from the news, it's the activation of an ancient playbook. And the scary part, we're already in the middle of it.
So look at this. On one side, you've got a performance. That's Donald Trump in the White House holding a football like it's some kind of prop, talking about power before walking away without answering a single question. But at that exact same moment, something else is happening. The real movement. The Pentagon isn't smiling, it's deploying. See, you've got two realities happening at once. One is pure theater, the other is for real.
And this movement, it is deadly serious. We're talking about the USS Boxer Amphibious Ready Group, the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit. That's thousands of Marines, moving silently, destination U.S. Central Command. You know, there's no press conference for something like this. This isn't a performance. This is the quiet preparation for something that absolutely cannot be allowed to fail.
And then, boom, the target leaks. An Axios report, one that officials aren't even denying, just lays out the plan. Weaken Iran, then take the island. And that island? It's Karg Island. Now, this isn't just some symbolic rock. This is the artery of Iran's entire economy. It's where their oil, their money, their control, it all flows through there. And just like that, the objective is public.
But here's where it gets really strange. As this massive military machine is building up, you have to listen to the language Donald Trump is using. He calls taking the island simple. Controlling the Strait of Hormuz, oh, that's simple too. And at the same time, he's attacking NATO allies, calling them weak. This casual, almost dismissive tone about a potentially world-changing event, that's not an accident. That is a major warning sign.
So you really have to ask yourself, what stage have we just entered? Because none of this is random. These events are following a pattern, an ancient, predictable pattern that always, and I mean always, leads somewhere darker. The real question isn't just what happened, it's what always comes next.
You see, war never actually begins with explosions. It begins with misdirection. Sun Tzu warned us that the greatest victories are won when they're hidden in plain sight, disguised as chaos and distraction. We are in that exact moment right now. So let's break down the playbook.
Okay, so Sun Tzu's playbook here is brutally effective and we just saw it unfold. Step 1, create noise. The football, the strange comments, it's all designed to distract you because your attention is a battlefield. Step 2, contradict everything. Say no escalation while you're literally deploying warships. Call it a simple operation while your officials are planning for a month of heavy strikes. This isn't incompetence, it's intentional confusion. And step 3, test the waters. You leak the plan, maybe through a report like the one at Axios, and then you sit back and watch very carefully how the world responds.
This entire process, this whole song and dance, it actually has a name. It's called shaping perception. This is the phase where confusion itself becomes the weapon. You deliberately confuse your enemy, the public, even your own allies. And why would you do that? Because confusion buys you time. And the ultimate goal is to make the final action, when it finally comes, feel completely and utterly inevitable.
Now here's the part that most people completely misunderstand. They see all this confusion and they think it's a sign of weakness or, just chaos. It is the exact opposite. It is a sign that an irreversible action is being prepared. And this slide really says it all. This pattern always escalates. Once you start shaping reality on this scale, you have to follow through. If you don't, you lose control of everything.
Okay, so now we have the framework. Let's apply it. And just watch how the chaos of all these recent events starts to lock into a terrifyingly clear pattern.
So now just listen to how the language starts to shift. Commentator Chris Wright calls the situation terrifying, but in the very same breath, he insists the U.S. has to finish the job. This is the classic formula for building public support, right? First, you create the fear, and then you immediately provide the justification for action.
And then the language gets even colder, almost clinical. Senator Joni Ernst boils the entire strategy down to a single word: leverage. I mean, just think about what that word really means here. Human lives, entire nations, they're all reframed as simple pressure points, just tools to gain control. It's a chillingly pragmatic way to look at global conflict.
So, let's be crystal clear. This was never just about one island. It's about control points. Karg Island, the Strait of Hormuz, these are the choke points of the entire world. If you control them, you control global energy flows. And if you control energy, well, you influence the world's economies.
Which leads us to the most important question you can ask right now. Is what we're watching the preparation for a conflict
Or is this the beginning of the conflict itself? And history tells us that by the time people even start to ask that question, they're almost always too late.
Because this is the moment when everything shifts. Once the movement starts, it spreads. It stops being a single battle and it becomes a system. And systems, well, they are much, much harder to stop.
So first, you have the visible layer, the part everyone is supposed to see. The Pentagon deploys its assets. The warships and the Marines move into position on the global chessboard.
But then, beneath the surface, the conflict expands. The New York Times reports that the U.S. Department of Justice is getting legal action ready against Colombian President Gustavo Petro. All of a sudden, it's not just a military front anymore. Now it's a legal front, an economic front. The system is spreading, and the system's reach just keeps expanding. The International Energy Agency issues a global warning. They're telling civilians to work from home, drive less, fly less. This isn't some environmental campaign. This is crisis language. It's a signal that the stability of the entire global energy supply is now at risk.
And then it hits home. The United Arab Emirates issues alerts saying that parks and tourist areas are no longer safe. Places that were built for normal everyday life are now being marked as potential targets. This is what escalation actually looks like in real time. It's not just soldiers moving, it's entire societies shifting in fear.
And all of this leads to the most dangerous phase of all, the point of no return. Because once the forces are deployed and the narratives are set and all this global pressure is applied, pulling back becomes way harder than just pushing forward. The system itself actually begins to demand escalation.
From this point, there are really only 3 paths forward, and you'll notice none of them lead back to where we were. Path 1 is rapid escalation, a fast, high-risk, high-impact strike on Karg Island, just a massive shock to the system. Path 2 is slow pressure, a long, draining campaign of smaller strikes and economic pain, designed to bleed the opponent dry over time. And then there's the most chaotic one, Path 3, fragmentation. That's where alliances start to fracture, new fronts open up unexpectedly, and the conflict just spirals completely out of anyone's control.
So this is the realization, isn't it? You are no longer just watching random events unfold. You are watching a system lock itself into place. Those early moves, the speeches, the deployments, they aren't options anymore. They are commitments, just disguised as reactions. And systems like this, they do not stop easily.
You know, we misread this whole moment because we're looking for a war that looks like something out of a history book. But Sun Tzu said the best generals win before the battle even begins. Which means if you wait to recognize the war, you are already inside it. By that logic, the war is already started.
And that leaves us with a final, chilling thought. The question is no longer if this will escalate. That ship has sailed. The real question is this: which part of the escalation are we already too late to stop? The outcome might already be decided. We're just waiting to see it play out.